my tax season, keep in mind I'm in tax season for 5 weeks and 1 day. If I sold 62% of my clients, I would reduce my tax season by 4.4 weeks. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? You can really get lazy. And then Tony's put this thing on the bottom. It says, would you like to go home early? See, if you treat yourself like you're treating your clients and methodically think through the business model, you can do these sort of things. Okay, what does this mean to me? What does that schedule mean to me? I have to decide which clients to keep. If I keep my top 158 clients, A through F, my tax season goes down to 2.6 weeks. If I keep just the top 21 clients, I keep 55% of my revenues on just the top 21 clients, and I'll generate $314,000, and I'll do that in 2.1 days. I want you to think about the power of that. Okay? Once again, Tony's asking, would you like to go home early? Guess what? Your best tax and business clients are not your best financial planning clients. And you need to understand how to differentiate between the two. They're not the same people. This course today is not about financial planning, but most of you here are financial planners in some way or another. So I just want to spend a moment on this. Most of my largest clients have come from my business pool. And most of my business owners have zero money to invest with me. Now sure, they could do a SEP, they could do a couple of IRAs, maybe, not often, they could do a 401k plan. I've got one 401k plan in my entire practice, okay? But they don't have a lot of money because they're reinvesting it in the business. So how did these business owners end up being my biggest clients? Well, when they got a little older, they sold their business, okay? And I was there to catch the money. I've got one client that was forever owing me money as a business owner, and he sold his business for $7.2 million. His basis was $800,000. Okay, I still manage about $5 million of his money. He's spent some of it. Okay, those have been my biggest clients. So those are the elephants out there. I could not live on just the elephants. Okay, it's too long between the time you take them down. I want to be prepared for them. I want to have the tools to work with them so I don't lose them when the time is right, and I want to keep nurturing those clients along the way, reminding them when they're ready to sell. I can help them with that process. I'll help them with the sales process. I'll help them with the estate planning process. Now, will I sell their business? No. I'll help them go find a broker. I'll evaluate the brokers out there, but I'm going to get it ingrained for maybe 5 or 10 years before they're ready to sell the business that they better talk to me first. Okay? So that's the long term. The best clients in your financial planning opportunities are those that are ready to retire. You know, the ones with the 401k plans. Some of my biggest clients are teachers. You know, they never made a lot of money, but they started in their 20s to put money aside. I also do a lot of utility company workers at Southern California Edison. Great clients. They listen to you. Okay? It's easy to roll their 401ks over. Those are my primary clients, and they're the ones I just love desperately. They're really easy to work with. They take direction. They listen to me when I'm trying to explain things. Now, in this area, the ones that most people go after financial planning, at least in my world, is the doctors. I have a serious conversation with the doctors before I'll do their work. It talks about, I promise not to commit open heart surgery on me, you promise not to go read too many financial journals. You know? And if we kind of get along that way, then we'll go forward. And if they're trying to start talking to me about alphas and betas and R squared, what I generally do is bring them to the mat really fast, prove to them they don't know what they're talking about, and then explain to them they really need somebody else. Okay? Because I'm not going to keep playing that game day in and day out. Okay? So your best clients are those that you don't necessarily think of. Do you know which clients to keep? Now this is my goal. Okay? I want all of you to have a kind of goal on how you want your practice to be. The other day, Rock Chernell, who is just one of my heroes, just an incredible individual, built an incredible box through these seminars. And you saw how skilled he has gotten over the years. And that's an incredibly good business model. Darren Oglesby uses the same model. Now, even though that's a great business model, I know in my heart of hearts it's not right for me. It's just not what I'm going to do day in and day out. What I want to do is the meatier stuff where I'm doing advanced planning on a case-by-case basis, and then if I want to take a few months off, I can take a few months off. That doesn't mean that I don't think Rock's model is appropriate. I think his model is very appropriate. In fact, he should not be doing what I do. He just shouldn't. It'll mess up what he's got going. The point I'm trying to make for you is, in your heart of hearts, you've got to figure out what model you want to emulate. Okay? Mine, his, or half a dozen other models that flow through money concepts. In fact, we talked this morning, we had one CPA in the room. Where's Rod? Rod, who does what I did originally. He does financial planning for all his clients, and he'll take a $2,000 IRA. I think that's very commendable. It's an egalitarian way to approach your client base. Okay? I felt like that for maybe the first 5 to 7 years. I don't quite feel that way anymore, so I'm changing my model. There was another gentleman in the room, I don't think I see him here, who decided that's not the model he wanted. You had to have $250,000 or more to play in his marketplace. My point is, you got to know who you are and what your procedures are and where you stand in the marketplace, so you know if a client walking through the door is right for you. It's much easier up front to tell the client, go down the street now, than it is after he's on board. And I submit to you, once again, you have too many clients anyway. So on the next client that you start to pick up the right clients. Okay? My goal is to have 50 clients paying me $20,000 each in annual revenues. That's $1 million a year. And that would get my tax season down to 5 days. Now let me ask you something. You think that would take me a lot of staff? Do you think there'd be more or less headaches in those 50 clients? Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Okay? Now, you would think, Nick, you just can't go out and get clients that pay you 20 grand a year. It's all about positioning. It's all about positioning. I tell the story, when I first moved to Mississippi, Mississippi is a very, very small town where I live. The big city, which is Biloxi, the next city over, and we're kind of adjacent over in Ocean Springs, is the big city, and that has 40,000 people in it. Okay? When they divorce down there, they're still brother and sister sometimes. You are nice to everybody because you don't know who's related. Okay? I mean, that's a wonderful thing about a small town. Everybody's really nice to each other. Okay? And everybody knows everybody else's business. And I thought, you know, I like not having to work when I'm home. So I really don't want to pick up any business here. All right? But my wife likes telling people that I do great things, and I have people call me at home, and since that time I've told her to stop telling people what I do, you know, because when I'm home I want to be home. So when people would call me, I thought, how do I get off the hook without offending people? And I'd say to people when they call up and they say, will you handle my tax return? I decided I'd come up with a conversation like, you know what, I would really like to, but I may not be your best alternative. You see, I have a very, very special practice. I only deal with those clients that have $2 million or more to invest. And generally they're business owners, and generally they're a little bit more complex, and that's where I can really add value. Now, you would think that would have eliminated everybody, right? I started getting calls at home going, I heard from a friend that you work with folks with $2 million or more. I've got $2 million. Would you sit down with me? I now have 3 of those in Mississippi. People that you wouldn't think had a pot to piss in, I kid you not, have a ton of dough in the bank. They just don't live like they've got a ton of dough in the bank. Okay? My point is, I positioned myself there, and I made this discovery by sheer luck. It was a complete mistake on my part, but I positioned what I wanted. So I now have 3 of those 50 clients down in Mississippi. And then Tony's put down at the bottom, Nick wants to go home early.